Welcome back, everyone. Lance Scurv X here, the Scurv Podcast. This story has been hitting my inbox for the longest. I really wasn't going to address it because it's more on the level of celebrity gossip and news, but I said, let me go ahead. Too many people have asked me, so I said, okay, let's share a few words on this one. Rightly so. I'm so glad to see you here. You're truly a trooper. Like I said, I'm glad to see you here. Glad to see you holding it down. Rightly so. And I go way back, you know, go a long way back. But let's get right into it. The world we live in today, I'm going to be nice at first now, right? And then we're going to get down into the nitty gritty because I have a lot of questions and I'm going to share a few experiences. The world we live in today has reached a point where definitions are being stretched, twisted, and sometimes completely flipped upside down. What used to be clear is now blurred. What used to be understood now gets debated. And when it comes to relationships, attraction, and identity, we are seeing conversations that would have shocked people just a few decades ago. We can't even say just a few years ago. 10 years ago, would this have shocked us? No. Maybe not even 20. But coming up in my time, yes, and I sound like an old man, but things might have been going on. But guess what? Trust me, it ain't coming out like this. Brother Boz Fitness, how are you, brother? On point and on time. Good to see you here. Now, here comes a situation that really makes you stop and think. A man who openly identifies as gay, E.J. Johnson, Magic Johnson's son, has publicly stated that he is only attracted to straight men. Let that sit for a second. Not other gay men. Not bisexual men, straight men. And that right there is where the confusion begins. Because if we're going to be honest, raw and real about it, something doesn't line up. Words mean things, at least they used to. Definitions exist for a reason. And when those definitions are ignored or redefined based on feelings alone, things start to sound good on the surface, but fall apart when you really examine them. This isn't about disrespect, because they're going to come for me. The Rainbow Crew is going to come for me. And you know what? I'm not respecting you, but I'm not disrespecting you. I'm stating it how it is. This isn't about attacking anyone for how they choose to live their life. Everybody has the right to be who they are. But when statements are made publicly, especially ones that contradict basic logic, it's fair to ask questions. And I'm going to ask those questions the way I always do, direct, unapologetic, and honest. Because at the end of the day, if we don't question what we hear, we end up accepting anything. And I'm not built like that. Let's break this down in the simplest way possible. A straight man is a man who is attracted to women. That's it. No confusion, no gray area or gay area, and no loopholes. And I was holes. I was going to say something else. I'll leave it alone. That's a definition that has stood the test of time. So when you say you're attracted to straight men, what are you really saying? Because if a man is engaging in intimate behavior with another man, no matter how he looks, dresses, or presents himself, that action itself contradicts the definition of being straight. I'm not mad at you, but that's a little loony. You can't call yourself a vegetarian while eating meat. You can't say you don't drink while holding a bottle in your hand. And you definitely can't claim to be straight while actively engaging in same-sex intimacy. Can I say it a different way? And you definitely can't claim to be straight when you have another man's penis in your mouth. Is that going to get me flagged? I don't think so. Now, some people will say, well, maybe those men still identify as straight. And that's where we get into the world of labels versus reality. Because you can call yourself anything you want, but your actions will always tell the truth. This is where the conversation gets deeper. Because there's always been a hidden layer in society where men live double lives. We know that. They present one way to the public, sometimes with a wife, children, a whole image of being straight, but behind closed doors, they engage in relationships with men. That's always been. This is what people call being on the down low. I know R. Kelly was mad when he made that song, Keep It on the Down Low, because they turned it around into something else. Now, if that's what is being referred to, then at least we're dealing with something that exists. It may not be honest, it may not be transparent, but it's real. There are men who live in that space. We understand that. So ladies, be careful. And remember, Houston is becoming the new Atlanta, but Washington's that way. You got them in New York. You damn sure have it on the West Coast. It's all over the place. You don't know what you're dealing with. And that's where the issue comes in. Because when you say you only want straight men, but the only men who would engage with you are those living a hidden lifestyle, then what you're really saying is you're drawn to men who are not fully honest about who they are. That's what you're saying. Now let's go deeper. Is it really about attraction, or is it about the idea of something? Because there's a certain appeal for some people in wanting what they feel they're not supposed to have, the forbidden fruit, the challenge, the ego boost of saying, I got someone who isn't even supposed to be into me. I think that's what it is. But those dudes who are coming at you are not straight. But that doesn't change reality. That doesn't redefine orientation. That doesn't make a straight man suddenly straight just because he says he is. If anything, it exposes something else. It shows that there may be a pattern of dealing with men who are conflicted, men who are hiding, or men who are not being real with themselves or others. And that's not a foundation for anything solid. That's a recipe for confusion, secrecy, and emotional imbalance. At some point, everybody has to look in the mirror and tell themselves the truth. Not the truth that sounds good, not the truth that gets applause, but the real truth. Because the truth doesn't need validation. It stands on its own. If a man is dealing with another man, he's not straight, period. That doesn't mean he has to label himself a certain way. But it does mean we shouldn't twist definitions just to make things sound more comfortable. Because I'm a straight man, and that doesn't, don't do that. Don't do that. Now, you might be attracted to a straight man, but I'm a straight man, and I look at you like a clown, to be honest. But you have a right to be a clown. And if someone says they're only attracted to straight men, then it raises a serious question. Are they truly dealing with straight men, or are they choosing to believe a label that doesn't match reality? Because there's a difference between what someone says they are and what they actually do. But at the end of the day, this conversation isn't about tearing anybody down. It's about making sense of what's being said and holding it up to the light. Because once you do that, you can see where things line up and where they don't. We live in a time where people want to redefine everything, but there are still some things that don't change no matter how you spin it. Actions speak louder than labels, and reality doesn't bend just because someone wants it to. If someone is choosing to deal with men who claim to be straight but engage in same-sex relationships, then let's call it what it is. That's not straight behavior. That's something else entirely. And maybe the bigger issue isn't the preference itself, but the confusion that comes from trying to force a label onto something that doesn't fit. Because when you do that, you create more questions than answers. So the real question isn't about who someone is attracted to. The real question is, are we being honest about what we're seeing, or are we just accepting whatever sounds good in the moment? This is going to create a whole lot more confusion in the world. Trust and believe. Young kids are seeing this stuff. I've said it years ago. Okay, I first got into the internet as a content creator in 2001, 25 years plus a month. And I used to go into something called Web TV just to browse. It was a little browser. Couldn't do much, but you could see things. So I've been online from the late 90s, middle to late 90s. And I knew that the whole, may I say it, sexual movement, sexual world, the underground world, which the whole gay world is going to be a part of that because that's one of the categories. I knew it was going to blow up. I knew there's going to be a lot of foolishness behind it. And the more and more we got exposed to different things, which early on in my life, I've been exposed to a lot. So it didn't shock me. But when it became normalcy and got worse and worse, I said back then, let's just say the early 2000s, I said back then that look at the kids who are growing up and seeing this stuff as normalcy. Even if people joke about it or say, hey, this is odd, you know, this is not right or whatever, there's some people who are going to tell you that. I'm not going to say it's right. But that's going to spawn a new generation where they're starting off as normalcy, where this thing came out of nowhere, where it rose to. I don't want to say it rose to it like it's something good. But the infestation of all of this stuff, young kids are seeing it and don't believe it. Well, they say porn sites have a little button you click to ask if you're over 18. And if you're if you're under 18, you can't go through. Do you think a kid's going to look at that and say, you know what? I can't see this because I'm 12 years old. No way. They're just going to go more and sneak and see it. Most men remember the first time when they saw a woman in a nude magazine. Oh my God, I got to sneak this one and take this home and see what this is all about. Or you see a bunch of young guys, 14, 15 of them gathered around looking at something. No, you're not doing a nature walk and you found a rare bug and you want to look at it. No, you're looking at a pair of breasts, a vagina, a butt. You're seeing it for the first time up close and personal. Now it's fueling your curiosity. So guess what? Look at what's out there now. Kids are curious. It doesn't mean they want to actually get into something, but when you put a food on a menu in a restaurant where that menu didn't previously have it, you might be curious to say, I want to try that dish. I'm not saying developed, grown people who know who they are, truly straight men. Let's use that as an example. A truly straight man. You're not interested in some gay item on the menu. I'm speaking in abstract terms. You're like, okay, it's there, but I'm not eating it. See, it's the forbidden fruit also. You see? And maybe he's a boy to me. Maybe this E.J. Johnson wants to really, truly see himself as a woman. It ain't happening, buddy. You were born a certain way. And even if you were to get an operation and remove your genitalia, take hormones, sprout breasts, and look more feminine, you're still born a man. You still got man bones. You still got man spit in your mouth. You a man, but now you chopped yourself up. So if I take a Toyota Yaris, an economy vehicle, subcompact, right? And I chop off the Toyota logo and put a Mercedes-Benz logo on it. Can I sell this to you as a Mercedes-Benz? Ain't that something? Can I? No, you're not paying me all that money. You know what it is. Certain things cannot be changed, even if you chop it off. Even if you think you can fool somebody. And fellas, you got to be careful out here. You go to these nightclubs, might be a bunch of women sitting in the corner, but one of them is not a woman. And you looking, you drunk. This thing is in the shadows with makeup on, wig, fake boobies, whatever. And you start talking. The music's loud, so you can't really hear them trying to hide the bass in their voice. And so now you're a little aroused because of all the women that were around, but you don't know that this thing is a man. And it's touching you on your face and saying how cute you are. You're drunk and aroused and horny anyway. And this thing tells you, well, it's my time of the month right now. I can't do anything, but I sure would love to satisfy you. Now, most men out there in the world, if a woman in a nightclub says that, they're drunk, they're horny, they're single. Maybe some people say, well, that's not morally correct. He shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be looking to have sex without marriage. But look, it's happening. And he thinks this thing is a woman. And they go to the back seat of his car so he can sample the lips. We're not going to get too lewd here. But old EJ here wants to give a BJ. Let's just put it that way. Let's talk about initials. And you never find out that that thing was a man. I remember, and I told this story before, and I'll get back to the point, but this is on the point. It was me and a couple of friends of mine that were bodybuilders. We were walking around, I think it was 6th Avenue. Yes, 6th Avenue. In the 30s. Now, back in those days, in the early 80s, prostitution was, it was crazy. In the early 80s, right before AIDS came out, which it was out, but it wasn't publicized. From the West Side on, from the 50s down to the teens, with nothing but prostitutes, 8th Avenue, 9th Avenue, 10th Avenue, 11th Avenue, 12th Avenue. Oh, man, you just drive around, it's just a freak show. But on 6th Avenue, for some reason, there was a pocket of prostitutes that always walked the streets. A lot of office buildings around that area. So it was dead at night. It wasn't like over by the West Side. So we were walking. We were coming from down in the village. You're walking. We trained earlier. We were walking around. You know, people, oh, look at his muscles. Look at these muscles. So we saw these women. We knew they were prostitutes. So we were walking through them. They laughing with us. Oh, my God, can I touch your arm? Yeah, okay, you can feel my arm. Oh, my God, baby, you want to go with me? No, I can't afford you. I'm not into that anyway. You know what I mean? So one of my friends was talking to one of the females, one of the prostitutes. I know he wasn't going to go and pay for something, but the prostitute was so much into how he looked. He's Puerto Rican. She was Puerto Rican. So they started speaking Spanish. All of a sudden, we see them disappear. Ain't that something? Welcome in, Sister Queen Diane. Yes. And Olive. Yes. I see you here. I didn't see the chat room for a while. Yeah, he's attracted to men who pretend to be straight. That's what it is. So now, they disappeared down into an alley. We pretty much knew what it was. So one of the ladies there, the prostitute, we're standing there. We're waiting for him. We're like about maybe 2 car lengths away. They said, listen, don't say anything now because he's going to be mad. I don't think he's looking for a man, but that girl that he went around in the alleyway with, that's a man. They threw their buddy under the bus, their fellow prostitute under the bus. I said, no. And I know he had a temper. I said, we're not saying anything, but we were laughing. So we got hung out for the rest of the night. We giggling, and he's like, "What are you laughing at?" When he came out from behind that alleyway, he was grinning because it took about 10 or 15 minutes to come out from there, right? So we're like, "Man, what were you doing back there so long? You didn't pay her to do." "Oh man, she gave me a freebie." I'll just say it in a decent way. He gave him oral sex. Now he goes on to brag about how good it felt. He never felt nothing like that in his life. Bruh, you're 18, 17 years old. How many of those sessions have you had? And we knew him personally. He didn't he didn't do much in his lifetime. So his mind was blown by a man. And we're cracking up. And he's almost bragging about it. And I'm like, watch how his mood changes when he finds out. We got all the way to Queens. We were in Manhattan. We took the train back home. This was like 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. We hung out all night and we let him know. We told him. And he flipped. He flipped out. He wanted to go back. He didn't want to go back and beat that person up. He was just saving face and saying, "Hey, man," we were teasing him. "Well, you said how good it was. Maybe you might want to get another date with this." But he was upset, very upset. But that's a lesson. Be careful. You don't know what's out here. But I tell you, with this E.J. Johnson, to me, he likes attention. He's Magic Johnson's son, if you can still say son. This guy has some attention issues. It's not just about, let me live my life, let me do what I do, but he has to have the spotlight. He has to dress up. He has to show his face. And really and truly, it's annoying when you see someone like that. You know what I mean? It's just, now I'm going to say something that many gay folks are going to get mad at me about, but in this case, I truly believe it's some kind of mental sickness, some kind of mental deficiency. He grew up having a very famous father, very famous, well known. Also, did somebody get to him when he was younger? A lot of gay people say, no, you can't say all gay people been molested. I'm not saying all gay people been molested, but a whole lot of them have, just like heterosexual people. I was touched by an older female cousin and did things to her per her instructions. It affected me. It wasn't traumatic, but it would have been traumatic if I think back and it was some man who did something. I'd be messed up in the head. I would be angry. But me, I'm a flaming heterosexual. I'm way on the end of that scale. But we're the sum total of our experiences. And so what experiences did E.J. Johnson have to cause him not just to be gay, but to be such an attention whore, knowing that if he said this, it's going to get attention? It has me talking about it, but many people ask me to, so I said, okay, we're going to freestyle something. But isn't it almost the same? It's not the same when you compare a straight man, but what about men who want virgins only and kind of get off on that? Oh, she's a virgin. Oh, she never had it before. Yeah, I want her over anything else. I mean, no man is really going to say, oh, I don't want a virgin. I want a woman with a body count of at least 300. At least she knows what she's doing. I don't think any man is going to say that. We know women have dealt, and that's not a big thing. But you have certain men who, whether they've dealt with women who had a low body count, high body count, the virgin thing is special to some of these guys. So I translate that the same way of what this man here, E.J. Johnson, is fantasizing about, saying he wants straight men only. So I do happen to know, in the limited conversations that I've had with gay men, because I would always ask questions. There are a lot of them in the gym growing up, whatever, and they're not walking around sissified. We're just talking. And a lot of them got a thrill from the thought of turning a straight man out. They don't care how many women you had. They don't care if you're married. Well, really and truly, they like that. The few that have acknowledged that, I'm not saying all, Again, we're talking about a slice of a population. So if you're gay, don't come at me. Oh, it's not all of us. Because I know you're going to have a problem with some of the things that I said anyway, and I really don't care because you know it's the truth, right? But it turns them on, knowing that, oh, now turns them on knowing that this man is straight. He has family, he has wife, he has kids. And or if you're not married and settled, you will be known as a womanizer, right? You're a straight man who's known as a man, not that you're aggressively bedding down lots of women, but you're known to be with many women. You had no problem with women. You love women. That makes it to some gay men a bigger prize. Like, oh, the world sees him this way, but I had a chance to get at him and he never did it with a man before, right? They like that. Like the same whole thing with the whole virgin thing. Oh, he's not that girl's never been with a man before. And I'm the first. I will always be the first. You know what I mean? I mean, like, is that ego or is it that, I mean, who wouldn't want to be with a virgin? Like, okay, perfect way it should be. Let me just finish up now. Is if you never did anything and your mate never did anything and you both explore yourselves sexually. That technically, if you really think about it, is the best way. And there's no means of comparison. It's not like if you, as a woman who likes a man with girth, you don't know that. He might have a micro penis and blowing your mind with it because that's all you know. And it's the fumbling around, learning, and being able to explore, which keeps blinders on your eyes. So here you are with a virgin, you're both virgins, and you both think that you have the best stuff in the whole world. And really and truly you do, because mentally you're locked in. But if you've had many partners, it doesn't mean that you can't settle down and be happy, but you have no prior memory of anything else. See? So this guy is looking for something like that as far as a virgin is concerned, because no matter how many women the straight man that he says he desires had, he ain't never been with a man, so that's his thrill. So in a way, from this mentality, you want to mar something, you want to soil it. See? Because when I worked in corrections, we had certain day rooms where there was a sizable gay population. Like, say, for example, there's this one day room that basically had how many cells? I think it was 4 big cells that had 8 inmates in it each, because it was 4 bunks. And that means it was 32 inmates altogether, but 8 of those inmates were gay, and we kept them all in one bunk. So there's no problems. There's always those gay guys that are undercover that may try you in the middle of the night and you didn't know this person was gay. But in this area, they all agreed. And we're thinking, uh-oh, they're going to be doing stuff with each other at night, right? Excuse me. I haven't sneezed in a long time in Africa. What's going on? But anyway, we cut the lights down, but there were still little lights that you can still from the outside of the glass see. And all they did was sit up and talk. Wasn't nothing going on with them. I'm like, I learned something. All these guys are gay, but they didn't want each other because half of them were flaming anyway. But they didn't like each other like that. They were looking at the guys who were in the rest of the day room to themselves. They weren't openly, because they eventually had to mix and blend and mix and meld. And we had not an issue, but we made sure to keep them separate on shower time. We didn't want to mix them up. You see what I mean? Like the old song I used to sing, joking in the gym. We used to make up all these crazy songs. And what was the name? Der Kommissar or something. Dun, 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 right? And I made up the song. I said, "Don't drop the soap. Uh-oh. They'll come inside your brown butthole." They cracked up because it was a gay guy that trained at the gym. Whenever he would leave, I would say that. But anyway, we kept that separate so there's no confusion. And you had some guys that were switch hitters, but they kept it real low. And I busted a few like that anyway. But it's like they want to violate. Like him, he wants to violate. How do you feel, E.J. Johnson, if you've had this experience before with what you call a straight man? Because he ain't straight. No, if he was straight and you did something with him, he ain't straight no more. He's not straight anymore. And really, if he did something with you and never did anything with another man, he ain't straight from jump because he wanted it. You see what I mean? I mean, I can call myself a boxer and never have a fight. I'm training for my first fight, but does that mean I'm not a boxer? No, I'm a boxer. I'm a fighter. I've been training for months for my first fight, but I never had a fight. You get a man who appears to be straight, but he's doing something with a gay man. He's already gay in his mind. He just never had the encounter. That's the bottom line. So I just don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. It's a mental thing. And where are you going with this? When you get older, where are you going with this? Do you want to be the wife with the husband with the white picket fence and the 2.5 vehicles, a nice house out in the suburbs with children, your children? Mental sickness. This is mental sickness. Mental sickness 101. You're looking at it right here on this photo. And he looks almost like a woman. I remember when he was young and just fat and chubby. And look, Magic Johnson cannot feel good about this. He cannot feel good about this, but he knows in those worlds how it is with business and the corporate world. And from what I'm hearing with basketball and football, a lot of the players, they're doing this stuff. What was he exposed to? What did he see? I looked in the comment section of a video on Facebook that they were speaking about this. It was funny. They said that Magic Johnson sacrificed his son for the cure for AIDS because Magic Johnson is still going around strong. Some say Magic Johnson never really had it, but that was something that he had. That was a cross that he had to bear for some reason. But that was funny. But he didn't say it decent. You know, man, that nigga traded him in so he can get the cure for the monster. That was so funny. But anyway, there's always going to be something else to top this and top that. But I really don't want to know. But just for the sake of this show, I would really love to see the follow-up, how successful he's been. And I don't want to know that stuff, but he's got to realize he's not successful in getting some straight guy. Does anything do something with you knowing you a man? He ain't straight. That's just impossible. But I just wanted to share that. I'm not going to say start my day because it's 11:33 right now here in West Africa. And I know it's much earlier for you, but I had to get this off my chest, and I'm going to come back later on. I'm going to speak about some more things. I'm going to consider some topics and stuff. But I had to go live and get this done so I can avoid all of the preparation and technical stuff and everything. So boom, you do it live, it just comes out straight. So that was straight from the heart. But anyway, I'm just glad that you all showed up and you all came in. It's always a pleasure and an honor. And we're going to continue going on. I just want to say much love to you all. Leave your comments in the comments section. If this was like later on, I'd open up the lines and maybe we can come talk or whatever, but I got to get out of here and do a few things. But I want to thank you all for being here. So anyway, much love to you all. Take care. On to the next one. Yeah, Diane, that's what I always say. On to the next one. Peace.
I love